Greetings, fellow nerds and geeks. Why don't you pull yourself up a chair, grab yourself a beverage, and prepare to enjoy a geek-tastic conversation. Welcome to the Geek Easy.
Welcome back to the Geek Easy podcast. This is episode number 76 for February 5th, 2020. I am Pixel Dan, and I'm once again joined by my good friends, Mr. Jonathan Leonard.
Hey, Internet.
And Jaron McCaffrey.
All this time, and it only feels like 25 episodes.
Something like that. Yep. And Happy New Year, everybody. We are back. We haven't been here since the end of 2019. We took a extended break. So this is our get back on track show.
Jaron, you had the coronavirus for a while, didn't you?
Pretty sure, man.
Yeah.
I was down.
Are you patient zero with this whole thing?
I must be. I must be, because I was down. I was sick for, seriously, it was about 6 weeks.
Yeah, it was a long time.
It was rough. So Jaron was down sick at the end of the year, and then the holidays do what the holidays do best and keep us all very busy. So, you guys know how it is, I'm sure. So
it's February 5th now. How many of your guys' resolutions are still in play?
I didn't really make a resolution because I know how that goes.
Actually, all mine.
Yeah?
Oh, nice.
I
didn't really make resolutions either, but I had some goals, and so far, they're rolling nicely.
Yeah, technically,
good.
All of mine are too.
Good.
Because I also didn't make any.
Because you didn't make any.
So that means we're batting 1,000, guys.
That's good. That's good.
A squad here. What have you done, Internet?
Hopefully they are also all on track with whatever goals they had set for the year. And hopefully they've been waiting for us to come back. Our great return here with the Geek Easy podcast. And you guys, I know you've been waiting on pins and needles to hear what we have to say about all the things that are going on in the pop culture world. Am I right? That's got to be what they haven't been doing anything else. They for sure haven't been listening to any other podcasts because they've been waiting for this one to come back.
Who's been waiting? By applause?
Yeah. Okay, I hear you. Yeah, I think most of them. Most of them. Definitely most.
Sounds like all of them to me.
All right. Well, hey, we got a lot of newer things that we do want to talk about today, but we figured we'd go ahead and kick this thing off by talking about Rise of Skywalker. And I know this came about back in December. We didn't have a chance to sit down and talk about it, so we're going to open this up with just a casual discussion about our feelings on the movie, things we liked, things we didn't like, and then we'll just see where we go from there.
You remember podcasting in the lobby after Force Awakens?
Isn't that crazy to think about? So that was 6 years ago now, right?
4
years ago? Did these come out?
Every 2 years.
Every 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
man,
2015.
It's so weird to think about how we've come.
Yeah.
All the way to the
levels of excitement were so different.
They really were. It was a different feeling all around. Man, I remember being so amped up for Force Awakens and feeling still so amped up when the movie ended. And we recorded that podcast in the lobby, and it was super positive, and I was just really excited and happy about Star Wars being back. And I feel like that's the last time I really had that feeling about these movies, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
And I'm not the guy that like totally hates these movies, but I did not feel that feeling again after that moment with these films.
Well, I mean, Rogue One was such an experimental thing, and I mean, well received for the most part, and I enjoyed it, and it did decent business, but the amount of hype just wasn't there. And then, I mean, after The Last Jedi, for better or for worse, everything just sort of changed. So now here we are.
So how do we want to start this off? What do you guys think? Should we just kind of talk about the things we liked and didn't like, just kind of see where the story goes?
I guess. I mean, kind of that's just sort of, I don't even know where you guys stand on it at this point because it's been so long since it's come out.
Well,
we haven't really talked about it between ourselves since like that first couple of days.
first night.
Yeah. Have either of you guys seen it again yet?
I was going to say, how many times has everybody seen it?
I'm on 2.
You're on 2?
Yeah.
I saw it 3 times.
3. I've only seen it once.
Okay.
I've only seen it once.
That's why he gets to host.
That's okay. Jaren's seen it the most, so that's why he sits in the hosting chair.
Yep.
Yeah. I've only seen it the once, and I haven't felt the need to go back and watch it again. I will watch it again. I will probably just wait until I can watch it on Disney Plus or something like that to watch it again. It definitely sparked a lot of thinking afterwards, which all of these movies tend to do. And I will say that when I was watching the movie, there were a lot of moments in it that I did really like. They got me with some of those moments.
Yeah.
Like I definitely felt the feels where they intended me to get the feels. And when the movie ended, I felt pretty good about what I had just watched. Like I thought I liked the ending was pretty neat, and there were certain things about it that I definitely liked. But it was one of those things where like I left the theater feeling really good about it, and then I came home and just started really like thinking back on everything, and all of a sudden I started finding myself having like issues with a lot of the things that I saw in the movie. Yeah. So now I'm in this weird space where I'm like, well, it could have been worse. Wasn't bad though, but it could have been worse, but it could have been better.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird middle ground things to have issues with. Some of it felt like sort of a return to normalcy, and I think when it comes to Star Wars, at least when it comes to the Skywalker stuff, I sort of dig normalcy more than I realized I did. Because I felt really, really strongly about The Last Jedi when I walked out, and continued to for a long time, and still do to a degree. But my thing with like The Last Jedi is a very, very, very good movie. But having seen Part 7 and 9 now, I don't really feel like it fits, which makes sense because 7 and 9 were made by the same guy with clearly a totally different mindset in mind than the middle one. But I felt like this is a trilogy that sort of like every movie is actively working against each other. And that makes it really weird to watch as a trilogy. Absolutely. And it makes it really weird to diagnose your feelings on individual chunks of a discombobulated whole.
Right. Absolutely. I feel like that's part of the problem with these movies from the outset is that they didn't seem like they had a set story in mind for these three movies. Because I think initially they had three different directors, right?
Yeah.
And I think their idea was, well, we'll just let each of these directors run with it and see what they do. And I think that was a huge mistake.
Yeah.
They especially now that Disney's got this property, and Disney is usually so good about the synergy thing and like making sure everything fits together under one umbrella. It kind of blows my mind that they didn't do that with these movies.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't they come up with an outline where they wanted the story to start and where they wanted it to end and fill that stuff in to work together instead of just like letting these directors do whatever they wanted with the story?
And it feels even weirder given the circumstances surrounding it, because when they bought the property and they started coming up with these movies and creating a new trilogy, some of the big news articles or news items flying about was the fact that they were going to do extended universe stuff also. So they were going to be able to tell other stories that weren't Skywalker related, be they from past, present, future of the universe. They were going to be able to expand on that. So you've got a built-in ability already to just give these visionary directors their own story to do whatever they want with. It doesn't make any sense to take the main story that is supposed to be one large story over a 3-part movie and split them up like that.
Yeah. And
I remember even when The Force Awakens came out, they talked about a lot of that stuff because it set up a lot of mysteries. There was the stuff with, Rey's heritage and, what happened that drove Kylo Ren away from his family and all sorts of things, who Snoke was. There was all this stuff they set up. And even J.J. Abrams doing a lot of the interviews was like, well, I put my ideas in place, but it's not really on me to do any of the further thing. We don't really have like an overarching story. So it's in good hands with the next people and they'll take it to great places. And I remember thinking, yeah, right, you don't have an overarching story for the whole thing. You didn't sit down and pen out at least an outline for all three of these. Sure, JJ. And then I watched the other two movies, and I was like, oh, wow, they did not have any idea what they were doing with these next two movies.
And I think that was when we talked about Last Jedi all those years ago, 2 years ago or whatever. Those were my biggest problems. My biggest nitpicks with that movie is that I feel like they set up specific things that movie either just totally ignored or just slapped down and said that they were nothing. And I didn't like that. I didn't like the way that made me feel. I was like, what about like you gave me, like, I specifically didn't understand the whole like R2-D2 at the end of Force Awakens finally woke up when Rey arrived. Like, he was specifically looking for her to give her the map of where Luke was. And then Last Jedi comes along and they're like, that doesn't mean anything. Rey's nobody. We're going to ignore that whole R2-D2 thing. Yep. I hated it. Well, I hated that.
It felt like, and who knows, I wasn't in the room for any of this stuff, but it felt very reactionary. Like, The Force Awakens came out and was well received by critics and audiences, but there was a level of complaint that it was basically just a rehash of 4.
Oh, for sure.
Now, everybody was still happy and it still made a ton of money, but that was like, an open argument on the internet mostly.
Yes.
Saying, well, it's just a rehash of 4, who cares, whatever. And I feel like they took that and went, well, if they don't like rehashes of 4, let's throw it all out the window and do something wild with 8. And then they threw it out the window and did something wild with 8, and everybody was like, this is stupid, this isn't Star Wars. And they went, oh no, we got to go back and figure out how to make it back the way it was again. And like, if you're that well received and you're making that much money, why are you listening to the small... I mean, everybody's going to complain about something, and it's never a good idea to let the internet write your movies, for the most part, because for better or worse, when the internet writes your movies, you get snakes on a plane. And I don't think that's what they were looking for.
That's not a good argument, because that movie's awesome.
Well, that's why I said for better or for worse. It is what it is, but it ain't what you want out of your Star Wars.
So there's a good level of listening to the fans and giving the fans what they want, but there's also, you got to find that right balance, right? Because this most recent movie absolutely feels like a mess of them trying to please as many people as they possibly could by just... I mean, they went against everything that the second movie set up.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, so many people hate this movie, let's just... basically make that movie non-existent at this point. Like, that's almost what they did. They practically wiped that movie out of memory. And our feed's real blurry. There we go. We're back. Anybody that was watching this on video, it just got real blurry for some reason.
Because Bigfoot just walked through.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay. It felt like they were overdoing it with the trying to please everybody thing to me.
Jaron, do you have any thoughts?
That's fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had a real weird experience because I watched all the movies.
Yeah, you watched everything leading up to it.
The week leading up to it, I watched Rogue One and Solo, everything.
We were getting text reviews from Jaron after he finished every movie. It was awesome.
Yeah. Well, because he was real sick still, so he was just at home every day.
just binge watching Star Wars movies,
yeah. And the sickness is worth mentioning. I did not enjoy Star Wars as a whole. Wow. I liked New Hope. Just fine. Empire is great.
That's my favorite.
And I liked Last Jedi. I think Last Jedi was my favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
I know you like Last Jedi.
I still stand by liking Last Jedi. But man, I used to be, so for a long time I was a Attack of the Clones defender and a Revenge of the Sith fan.
Yeah.
And watching them recently, I was like, these are hot garbage.
Yep.
There's nothing
that's a
Revenge of the Sith has some interest, some cool action scenes,
right? But
that movie is total garbage.
I did the same thing leading up to Force Awakens, and I've always done the same thing. Phantom Menace is pretty bad, barely watchable, but it's got that fight scene, so it's cool. And 2 and 3 they're fine, they're pretty good. 2's fine, 3's pretty good. I really like 3 quite a bit. And, they just get a lot of flack because they get a lot of flack, and that's all there is to it. And then I sat there and tried to get through 1. I'm like, God, this is unwatchable. This is absolutely unwatchable. And then I watched 2, thinking, thank God I'm past 1. I'll get to 2 now. I'm like, this is just above unwatchable.
Yeah.
This is way worse than I remember. Then I got to 3. I'm like, man, the story of 3 is still really good. When I think back and I remember all the arcs that they went through, I appreciate where they go with that story, but watching them do it is very difficult.
Well, it's kind of like they hit all the... They didn't put a movie or a story together they just hit all these moments that they had in mind.
Exactly.
Like, the first time, Anakin kills Dooku with a spoiler alert. Anakin kills...
Heads up! Oh, wait, heads off. Because it's Dooku.
But a bump.
Anakin kills Dooku with the Emperor watching for the first time. They try to arrest the Emperor, but he sword fights them all and murders a bunch of people. Yoda versus...
Dude, his makeup looks so bad in that movie, too. Like, when he turns into the Emperor.
Yeah,
like, what the heck? I don't understand why it was so bad.
Awful.
At least in this new movie, he looked like original Emperor again.
Well, and in your head, you're remembering, like, oh, man, Sam Jackson's in it, Ewan McGregor's in it. Like, it's well put together. And then you're watching it, and you're like, everybody's so terrible. Yeah. Everybody.
This party's over.
And
this party's over.
Because Hayden Christensen always got a lot of flack for being a terrible actor. I've seen that guy in other stuff. He seems pretty good. I don't think he ever really got a chance because your argument is he's awful in Star Wars. Man, Ewan McGregor's awful in Star Wars.
Man,
that ain't the actor's fault.
You actually always hear that it's George Lucas's directing. Like, apparently he directs them to be very stiff and everything with their dialogue for some reason, and that he's the blame for the reason that the acting's so terrible in that movie.
Well, and also, like, they way overdo all the effects and stuff. Like, everything is, it's just nothing but a couple of people in a green screen.
Right.
And because I've even heard, and I've heard Sam Jackson talk about, like, the experience of making those movies, and I don't even think he was complaining, but just listening to him go over it, he's like, you're just standing there and you're holding... a stick, and George is like, oh, there's a big monster coming, and you're like, where is it? And he's like, it's over there, and you're like, okay, and, like, it's just, it's like they don't have anything to play off of, right. Like, they're still actors who are used to being able to, like, interact with sets and scenery and props and each other and all that stuff, and in these movies it's just like I don't even know how often they were actually together because they just tried to digitize every part of the filmmaking process.
Sure,
doesn't work.
No. That is one thing I will give these new movies credit for is they used a lot of practical effects, and I like that.
Yeah,
I love the puppets. I love the real robot.
Yep.
I know it's CG robots. They were all practical effects.
Yeah, I think all three of these
made it feel like Star Wars.
It made it feel like Star Wars in its look. Absolutely.
These three all look great, and they're all well performed. Just then you can decide what you want about the storylines and stuff like that. But they definitely have that leg up on the prequels.
So my main complaint about this last one, about Rise of Skywalker, is that I felt like it had a lot of the same thing I was just complaining about for Sith, where it seemed a lot just like moment to moment,
Oh, they crammed so much in that.
Like, let's just skip straight to Kylo Ren meeting the Emperor. Let's just, here it's cool when they...
Following weird maps, and I didn't like that at all. You know what I don't...
We got to fly through this... through this red nebula. Why can't you just go around it? It's space. No, you got to fly through it, and we need a special map to do it. The Sith map. Like, come on, guys.
Dude, I hated the Goonies thing with the knife that why like the knife that matches the wreckage of the Death Star. You got to be kidding me, man! Get out of here with that. Like that's
you got to look for the treasure at high tide.
I'm glad you called it Goonies.
Dude, that's exactly what I thought of. I was like, okay, I guess we're doing the Goonies.
It's JJ, right?
You're right.
I tell you what, too, and I forgot about it the first time I watched it, but like the opening crawl. When it first started,
the dead talk,
in all caps, like just boom, the dead talk, and I remember sitting there the first time that happened, and I went, oh,
well, it was impossible. After that, it was impossible for me not to read that thing in like the old 50s,
the dead talk,
the dead talk. A strange broadcast has gone out over the airwaves. Emperor Palpatine swears he returns. Kylo Ren rages in search of the Emperor.
Oh my god!
I want to go see it again now. I tell you what, like I like those first 3 words made it impossible for me to take anything that happened in the first 20 minutes seriously, and all the things that happened in the first 20 minutes don't help that at all.
No doubt.
And I would like to be perfectly clear, I did enjoy the movie. I liked it. I think it was one of those where they could have definitely done a ton better. I think they could have definitely done a ton worse. they were already in this like they had already worked themselves into a corner that they weren't going to work out of.
Yeah.
So I'm not declaring it my favorite by any means. I'm not saying they couldn't have done it way better, but overall, yeah, I like it fine. However, there's still a lot of things I can make fun of, and I'm going to.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll talk about some of the moments that I did like real quick, since we've kind of been talking about all the stuff that bothers us. Because there definitely were some good key moments in there that I thought was touching and good. Like Princess Leia. Obviously, I was really curious to see how they were going to use her for this movie, and I feel like they handled it fine for what they could do. They used just a lot of footage of her that they already had, and sometimes you could tell that.
Yeah.
But I was fine with it. I thought it was respectable the way they did it. And I specifically really enjoyed the scene where she decided to do that last-ditch effort to reach out to Kylo. And basically we got the Han Solo return, which I don't know if the movie made it super clear, but I think the idea was that Princess Leia was projecting Han. Like, that was how she was reaching out to talk to Kylo, was in Han's image.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool, because we got like we got to see Han again, because Han's not a spirit. He's not a Force ghost. He can't be. He's not a Jedi.
Yeah,
that's not the way I took that at all.
Well, that's apparently the way it's supposed to be, and that's one of the things I've read about online. They altered the script a little bit, and it kind of messed up the flow of that whole thing, because the way that the script was originally apparently presented was that that's how she reached out to Kylo, and then that's why she died at the end.
I don't like
her last.
I don't like thinking of that as that her being. I don't like thinking of that as that being her as Han, which also isn't exactly how I took it. I haven't put a ton of thought into it, but I more took it like she was doing that. I knew she was trying to reach him using Force power,
right?
But I took it more of like her energy allowed him to have that moment somehow.
Okay.
And not necessarily like to bring Han back, and Han's not a Force ghost, but more like however that worked. Like, I took that as being Han. I've never identified how that would work, but I just figured something with her energy allowed him that moment to connect. You know, I don't like the idea of it being her in a Han mask.
Well, I don't know if that's necessarily what I meant by that, but
okay.
But I think the idea was that she triggered that somehow.
Okay.
The whole Han. I don't know. I enjoyed the Han and Kylo scene.
Yeah. Love
I thought that was awesome.
Yep,
it was a cool surprise. They did a good job of keeping that secret, because I don't think anybody expected to see Harrison Ford again. Mm-hmm. So that was a good
Least
moment.
Of all, Harrison Ford, I suspect.
Yeah. When he showed up on screen, I kind of had that, it's Han Solo. you get excited. Yeah. So I really enjoyed that moment. When Leia died, it didn't really hit me, because I expected it. But I'll tell you, the moment that did hit me is when they told Chewie that Leia had died, and Chewie broke down. I was like, oh no, now I feel it too. Because when you watch Chewie lose his longtime friend like that, it felt real all of a sudden. So I thought that was a really cool moment.
I just went, oh, he thinks he's people.
Yeah, he thinks he's people. Hey, also they gave Chewie his medal.
Yeah,
and that was just that was just a fun Star Wars thing, because if everybody always jokes about how poor Chewie didn't get a medal at the end of A New Hope, so he got his medal. That was neat. That was a neat thing for fans. So some of that stuff was fun. I hated the kiss with Rey and Kylo.
I loved it.
You did?
I did.
I thought it was so unnecessary, and why? Why did we have to go there?
I don't know why he had to die.
Yeah.
I liked the idea of even if we weren't going to get the movies, I liked the idea of those two being, not even a couple. I didn't care about that part on that much. I liked the idea of those two being like a force, going forward, and then he just, croaked.
Yeah.
But I dug all the stuff leading up to that. I really liked the last battle. I really liked when he showed up to help. I was real weird on the them being able to interact through force projection stuff.
That's been weird the whole time for me.
Well, I was just ready to buy whatever they gave me.
Sure.
Sort of. So, like, when that started happening, I was kind of like, this makes me feel weird. And then as soon as they gave me an explanation, not a good explanation.
I was going to say, an explanation is right.
Not something that brought it all together, not something out of left field I didn't see coming, nothing that was in any way, shape, or form even remotely kind of explained, but it was a reason, and I went, okay, that's fine. I'll buy it, sure. And after that, I liked that part, and I thought it culminated pretty cool with the way they did that like last fight scene. Again, it's a weird thing to praise because I don't understand how any of it worked, but it's like, if that's the world I'm living in, that's a neat way to use it. You know what I mean?
They went all in on like the Force being able to heal people thing, too.
Yeah, which
we've never really seen until this movie and The Mandalorian, because Baby Yoda does that.
And I don't love it in either.
I know, same. I don't really love that idea either. And it almost makes me feel like they introduced it with The Mandalorian to set us up for what we were about to see in this movie, right?
For sure.
Because all of a sudden, Rey's got that power now, but like tenfold. Like she's like straight bringing Kylo back from the dead and stuff, or whatever. So, and then like that was kind of like their big excuse too for like Palpatine. Like, this is how he's going to get healed. He's going to steal their crazy Force essence that they have, and I don't know. It was weird. It was weird for me.
I didn't like any of that stuff.
No.
I actually was okay with the way they were communicating through the Force and the way they started like passing stuff back and forth.
Yeah,
through the Force.
the physical stuff was weird, like where they were able to touch and like grab things and bring it back.
So here's why I was okay with that.
Okay.
Because if you watched from, like if you watched, it progressed. Mm-hmm. And it got more and more, like through this movie, even through like Last Jedi, they were getting closer and closer throughout that when they were communicating back and forth. So like seeing it as like, oh, here's this new thing, and it's getting more and more and more and more. Like, I'm okay with that personally. I had a lot of issues. I didn't like that the Knights of Ren just like turned on Kylo Ren with no explanation. Like he flies off. They didn't see him die. They didn't see him turn good. They didn't whatever. And then when he shows up, they're just like, "Guess we gotta kill you now." And then he super murders them super quick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they really set up those Knights of Ren for nothing.
Yeah, they totally got. They got Jango Fett.
They got
I feel like if that was something that would have, developed over 3 movies with a plan that they set in place ahead of time, that could have been something.
I mean, they were just like a throwaway line in the first movie, but everybody was like, "Who are the Knights of Ren?" And there we go.
Yep.
So what do we think of the Palpatine stuff overall?
Hated it.
Yeah, like I liked the idea of Palpatine coming back. I don't think they did anything impressive with it.
The Snoke clones that we saw like at the beginning. So like Snoke was just like a fake clone. It was Palpatine the whole time. I had a feeling that was the setup we were going to get with this whole thing. So at first I was like, I felt totally cool with it because I was like, well, of course it's Palpatine. He's been the bad guy in every one of these movies. Why shouldn't he still be the bad guy pulling the strings? Even in the expanded universe books, Palpatine had a clone and survived beyond Return of the Jedi and continued to be a threat. So it's not like far-fetched for Palpatine to still be a threat in the Star Wars world. But this kind of plays back into that feeling I've talked about before where like seeing where things ended up after the original trilogy and just the way I don't really like the way that makes me feel. Like, I guess so.
I don't like that he survived being thrown down the shaft and being exploded with the Death Star.
The whole Death Star blew up. Like how did he?
If you tell me that he was a clone and now they're meeting the real Palpatine, if you tell me that there's just a bunch of Palpatine clones manipulating stuff, if he was a Force ghost manipulating stuff, still I'm fine with all of that. I don't like the idea that they threw him down that shaft and he was zombified. Yeah,
he was like zombie Palpatine hooked up to some sort of life support droid.
And then the biggest problem with that becomes like all of that whole issue is fixed with 8 seconds of dialogue.
Yeah. I know.
They had to say any of those things.
Yeah.
And it all
would have been
makes
so
fine
much
sense.
better. It blows my mind they didn't use the clone thing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that was
And in
right
fairness,
there for
they
them.
also didn't not use it. So, like, if they really like, I mean, they're not going to make more of these,
Sure.
in this line. But if they could retcon that in a heartbeat. But they shouldn't need to.
Right.
There's no reason for this movie to exist without one of those explanations somewhere.
And I don't know how I feel about, like, because his whole dialogue at the end. Now, this could just be normal bad guy dialogue where, like, they just say things to say things because they're evil. But I hated his whole explanation about how everything's happened according to his plan, and the whole thing with Vader and Luke and all that. He knew it was going to happen that way, and this is exactly where he knew it was going to lead him because Rey is who he was really after. I hated all that.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea that the original trilogy movies went exactly the way Palpatine envisioned it, and this was all part. That's stupid.
Right.
That is so dumb. I don't like that at all.
No.
I'm going to take that as just bad guy talk because
I mean, it very well could just be bad guy talk. Yeah.
Well,
but,
I mean, again, they could have all. I mean, regardless of what it was, they should have done it better. Mm-hmm. So that's not me defending the movie. That's just me saying that that's how I'm going to take it because that's the only way that I won't be furious.
Right. Right. For sure.
I didn't feel like the moments. The whole ship battle when they show up to fight the Armada.
Oh man!
And, I didn't like anything that happened in that. I didn't even feel it when like Lando and Chewie showed up with all the reinforcements.
I can't believe he had so many Star Destroyers that were each their own individual Death Star.
So,
yeah, dude.
Yeah. Man, like what?
Another Death Star!
That's so over the top. 1 million Death Stars.
Right.
Yeah.
What in the world was the point of creating that armada under like an ice glacier thing? Like
right.
Just so that they could blow up out of the ice so he could see it? Because no one else was watching. It wasn't like setting a any kind of example or precedence
could he
or
even see it?
Well, yeah, a fair point there.
Know?
But it's not like this was a giant reveal to send terror through the galaxy. Mm-hmm. He's just one guy and a bunch of weird minions on a planet, and he's the only one anywhere close to it, and then they just come out of the ice. And did they just have legions of First Order officers fully crewing these things under this iceberg on this
they're the Final Order now. They were the First Order, but these are the Final Order.
Oh, okay, my bad. Yeah, so they just had all these officers under these icebergs for no reason on this planet that no one can find without a special Jedi map.
Yeah, Goonies map.
Yeah, Goonies map. Goonies Jedi map.
Yeah, I also didn't like the way they kind of like the visuals. They kind of implied that like he was raising them with his force powers, right?
Yeah.
But then they're all just like also fully staffed, and there's captains and generals that we've never seen that have been serving him since.
And also, they can build them under a giant iceberg, and they can blow up through the giant iceberg. And they all have Death Star cannons on them.
Yeah.
But they can't leave this planet without an AM broadcast.
Right.
Yeah. Oh man. See,
like,
this is what happens.
I like this movie better. I like this movie better without that part.
The more I talk about it, the more I keep finding these flaws that bother me so much. I don't know.
Well, it's easy to nitpick it.
It is
and
easy
it's
to
easy
nitpick.
to it's easy to have things to complain about and still kind of overlook them, I guess. You know what I mean? I mean, we all say, I mean, it's fine. I like watching the movie is a fine experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I like the stuff I like.
Sure. Yeah.
And I
same
like
here.
it more than I dislike the stuff I dislike. It's just some scenes are closer than others on that.
Yeah,
scale.
and I don't by any means consider myself a hater of this movie or the sequel trilogy. I've enjoyed I enjoyed myself watching these movies. But I did come to the realization, like, after I've really started thinking about it and everything, that, like, they're fine. I liked them fine. I don't know if they were super necessary, to be perfectly honest.
I like Force Awakens a ton.
I don't know if I'm ever going to go back to these a whole lot when I'm thinking about, like, watching the Star Wars movies, because, like, I think about, like, the prequels. I don't go back to the prequels very much.
Yeah, but they all suck.
Right. And then but then I was thinking about this too, like, if we're thinking about the overarching story in all these movies, like the prequels were the fall of the Republic and the rise of the Empire. That was the story of the prequels. And then the original trilogy was the rise of the rebellion and the fall of the Empire. So like they actually had an arc that worked together.
Yeah.
And then the sequel trilogy is just the rise of the Empire again and the fall of the Empire again. You know what I mean? Like there's no, it's like, let's just do it all over again, but real fast, crammed into these 3 movies. So
let me say this one thing too. As bad as the prequels are, they make the original trilogy feel different. Mm-hmm. You know, when I remember watching the original trilogy, and it's like the story of Luke Skywalker. When they made the prequels and you watch all of them together, it become Anakin's story.
Anakin's saga.
All the way through.
Yep.
And, you know, it feels, I mean, you know, regardless of what you feel about the prequels, like, it does add that feeling because, like, you know, you can't watch Anakin lay on that lava planet screaming at Obi-Wan.
I hate you!
Yeah. and then not hold that kind of feeling for that character. You know, even right away when he's coming on to Princess Leia's ship.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like you feel that all the way through. I don't feel like you were kind of saying, the sequel series didn't really add anything. You know, like it didn't.
If anything, I don't like what it did to the original trilogy, to be honest. I mean, not that that's going to take any of that away from me, because those are still my Star Wars movies, and they're always going to be, and I'm always going to be able to watch those and enjoy them. But
Danny, I keep telling you, you can't have those movies. You have to.
They're
share,
mine,
you have to
John.
Share, you have to share
Those
them
are
with
mine.
everyone. You can't watch them unless you bring enough for everybody.
I don't know. Like it's just. I guess they just are what they are.
Yeah, and I haven't really honestly thought about it much on that level until you guys are bringing it up. You're 100% right on that. They don't fit the way the other ones did. Yeah. But the sad part is, like, I really feel like they pretty easily could have. You know, I think that problem goes back to pre-Force Awakens. I think Force Awakens needed to be something that wasn't just 4 again on that level for sure.
For sure.
But, I mean, they had all the time, resources, and creativity they ever could have needed to look at all 6 of those original movies and do something that would have flowed.
Yeah.
Flowed. And they just didn't.
Flown? No, not flown.
Fleed? Flewed.
Flowed. Flowed?
Flewed.
Is it flowed?
Yes, I think it's flowed.
Whatever. Regardless. So now I'm kind of more bummed out than I was a few minutes ago.
Hey, you want to not be bummed out?
Sure.
Hey, how good was The Mandalorian?
Man, The Mandalorian was awesome.
Mandalorian's pretty good.
I
you like things that are awesome.
You like things that
I'll
are
tell you
good.
what, though, I'm curious where they're going with the whole Empire thing there, because are they just serving zombie Palpatine? Is that what's going on there? Is that why they're trying to steal the child? But I really liked The Mandalorian. Man, that show felt like Star Wars to me. I loved the gritty look of it. It had that very, like, I mean, it looked...
I love that it was a Western.
It was just for sure a spaghetti Western. Like, that was what they were doing with it. Oh, it was so much fun. I loved it. Loved everything about it. I'm excited for more of that show.
And that's what the expanded universe stuff should have been from day one.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like, I liked Rogue One, and I liked Solo, and I didn't need either of those movies. You know?
Solo is crazy, man. Solo, I remember not hating Solo, but hating that it was about Han Solo. But watching that movie back, that movie is insane, man. Like, that movie...
I remember sitting down to watch it, and they got to the scene in the first 15 minutes where they named him. Like, they explained his name, and I remember thinking, I don't need to be here. I can just go. It'll be fine.
Just go.
And then I watched the rest of the movie, and I'm like, all right, I'm glad I stayed. But
well, it's one of those movies that it fits and it works, but it just seems so crazy. Like, I'll never forget when you and I watched Triple X together, and I came in a little late the first time before I'd seen it, and I'm like, did I miss anything? And you're like, well, he first he jumped a car off a bridge, and then he did a base jump, and then he went and fought the Colombian army with a motorcycle for a little bit, and now he's in Russia to save the world. And I was like, what? Yeah. And that movie's kind of got that thing where it's like, oh, he had a Fast and Furious speeder chase, and then he kind of fought the intergalactic newsies, and then he went and signed up with the Empire for a little bit, and now he's like smuggling. He's in a heist for a little while, and now he's on. It's just like, what is going on with this movie, man? Like, you watch it and it all makes sense as it progresses. But if you tried to explain that movie to somebody, you just can't. It just sounds crazy.
The first 10 minutes of Triple X is a modern Fast and Furious movie before they knew what those were.
Man. So, which is probably too good of a segue to pass up. Because we got a Fast 9 trailer, y'all.
Oh, man, we got to talk about the Fast 9
We got a Fast 9 trailer.
All right.
And
segue.
Yep,
I feel like it felt too long coming.
I miss Paul Walker.
We all miss Paul Walker.
Yes.
We all miss Paul Walker. But we got John Cena.
Yeah, we do have John Cena. Playing a bad guy. Danny's yawning.
No,
we can't see him.
Can't
see me.
Where'd Danny go? This trailer's crazy, y'all, and I'm super juiced. I'm super excited. I can't wait to see this movie. I've never been so excited for something that I'm so angry about. Like,
what?
Like they are gonna have to. Oh, okay, in
Explain.
the trailer, spoiler alert. Okay, if you haven't watched the trailer, if you don't want to know anything about the movie, you're gonna have to skip this part.
Yeah. If you're really worried about spoilers on a Fast and Furious trailer, you might be doing movies wrong. But to each their own. Skip it if you need to.
Well, I feel like this is a big plot reveal.
Yeah.
That John Cena is playing Vin Diesel's brother, which is all of the wrong, all of it. Like as wrong as these movies can be, that's the pinnacle. Because number one, they're gonna have to do a lot of explaining as to why the guy and the movies who are all about family have this brother that we've never heard of, never seen, that's like an evil twin out there somewhere doing stuff.
Oh, we're back.
And I don't like. I have a huge problem with that.
Maybe he
and they're going to have. These movies. I love these movies. I love the Fast movies. All of them. They're great.
They're so
even
good.
Tokyo
They're
Drift.
so good.
And if you don't like Tokyo Drift, if you don't like Tokyo Drift, you're wrong.
Yep.
Or you haven't watched.
You're that guy who's afraid of spoilers.
Yes.
You just don't know what you're doing.
Okay. These movies, having said that, these movies are not good enough to explain why John Cena is this brother, this Toretto brother that we've never heard of.
Maybe he doesn't mean biological brother. Maybe he just means in the sense that like Vin Diesel in those movies is related to almost as many people as Hulk Hogan.
Brother.
That's I mean, I guess maybe if he's not a biological family member, that's the only. But I still like that's still.
Don't ponder that so long. That wasn't a real excuse. That was just me making a joke.
I mean, that's the thing. Yeah. Like they can't explain it well enough for me to be okay with it.
Like the only way they can explain that away is if they pretend it never happened in the trailer, and it becomes one of those things where like 3 months later you're looking back going, wait a minute, I just remember the trailer. Weren't they supposed to be brothers?
Right. Well, and he's so vaguely like him and his sister are so like vaguely ethnic. John Cena is the whitest white dude
yes.
that ever,
whiter than me?
Whiter than you, John. Whiter than John Cena. John Cena and Brooke Shields, white. When you open the dictionary, there's a picture of them side by side.
I don't know. Brooke Shields was in the running.
That's an Eddie Murphy callback.
Oh, nice.
Callback? I don't know if it's a callback. It's an Eddie Murphy reference.
There you go.
And also, Han is back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't explain that to me.
I think they brought the wrong dead character back.
Because they didn't bring back Paul Walker?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously. But
I mean, they're going to find a way. They bring everybody back.
So the thing is Brian O'Connor's not dead. So they can't bring him back.
Yeah, he's still alive in canon.
Okay. So
like wasn't Jordana Brewster in the trailer?
Yes, a lot.
Yeah, which makes me assume that they have to have killed off Brian.
No, I'm assuming that
somewhere in between movies.
So remember in Fast 7, Jordana was gone with the kid, and she sent Brian, just because they're stronger together. and I'll watch the kid. And then her and the kid were like on that island with a Colombian drug lord that they were friends with or whatever.
So
I'm assuming
Brian's just on an island with a Colombian drug lord while she's off
with
like
the kid.
doing
because
adventure stuff?
Well, yes, because they're brother. Right.
Oh yeah.
So she has to go help Dom figure out what's up with their brother while Brian keeps the baby safe.
Okay.
Is what I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And then they bring back Han. And I'm super mad that they bring back Han. Almost as mad as I was when they brought back the younger Shaw brother, because they didn't bring back Gal Gadot, who like this exact same thing happened to him. They fell off that plane and disappeared into darkness, and Gal Gadot's dead, and Giselle is dead, and Han has to go die in Tokyo. But the very next movie, the other Shaw brother's back, and he's a good guy now, and everything's cool, and I accepted that, but you can't bring back Han if you don't bring back Giselle. And I know Gal Gadot doesn't want to be in these movies anymore, but that's not the point.
I'm still trying to do the math because, like, Tokyo Drift happened, and then Fast 6 happened chronologically.
Yes.
Except it happened pretty soon after Tokyo Drift.
7.
But was it 7?
7.
So, okay. Regardless, the one that comes
Tokyo Drift happens between 6 and 7.
Okay. So the one that comes right after Tokyo Drift chronologically theoretically happens like within a year or however short the timeline is, but that kid from Texas ages like 22 years
for sure.
easily. But then like Tokyo Drift happened, and then after that like 4 and 5 and 6 happened before then,
right.
And Han aged a couple of years, so like he kind of went back in time through those somehow. But then 7 and 8 happen, and in the interim of those two happening, he's aged 35 years.
Yeah.
Well, he's been dead for a while.
Yeah. So
he's only mostly dead. Maybe that's the thing. He's only mostly dead.
To blame.
He's getting better.
No, is it?
Yeah. What if Billy Crystal shows up as the one who brought Han back?
Dude.
I'm not sure my suspension of disbelief can take that, man.
And he just miracled a fully grown adult brother for Dom and Jordana Brewster, whose name I can't remember in the movies.
So these movies know exactly what they are. They're over the top. But I was watching that trailer, and I watched a car driving up a suspension rope bridge that had been cut and was falling.
Because
and
physics.
It's just driving up that thing. That's cool. Whatever.
Physics.
So I'm laughing about that, and then 10 seconds later, here comes Vin Diesel driving off the cliff with his car, and then Spider-Man swinging with it.
Yep.
And I was like, all right. This is where we are now.
And that's the funniest part, because I fully agree with you about all the brother stuff. But I like that, like, that's what we get upset about in the movie where the car can drive on the bridge that has no...
So it's all about setting the rules for the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
You build your world and you live in it. I fully agree with that.
They've skydived with the cars.
Yeah, they did.
They drove that car between the two buildings in Dubai.
Oh man, they did.
Yep.
You know,
it's so fun.
Vin
Go home and
Diesel,
watch it right now.
Vin Diesel jumped a car into a helicopter that one time. Like that, you've established that these guys are just superheroes in their cars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I can
They
handle,
fought tanks and submarines in their cars.
I can handle that. I can't handle that the guy who's all about family has never mentioned that he has another little brother who's like apparently a supervillain out there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah, you right.
Also.
No, I don't even want to see it.
I don't know why we're even. I don't know why
That's
we're beating
not true.
around
I
the
still
bush,
do.
and they're gonna make us sit through a whole movie for John Cena to become a good guy.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
Oh, that's
yeah,
for
there
sure.
ain't no- yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
Like, why do we have to wait? Like, you know, like I don't need
John
to see.
Cena can't be heel. He sells
Well,
too many T-shirts.
It's just what that those movies do. Like
Yeah.
you're a bad guy, then you're a good guy. You know.
Yeah. Worked for Statham.
And Rock.
Yeah.
And Rock.
Yeah. Well, The Rock was never a bad guy. He was an antagonist, but he was always a good guy.
Yeah.
I hope John Cena leaves and joins the Hobbs and Shaw cast.
Hobbs and Shaw on Cena.
I hope it's called that.
Shaw and Cena.
Oh. Okay, I guess that's all I got. I'm juiced for those movies.
Thrice in a lifetime.
This is this is not a segue at all, but did anybody else see Bad Boys 3?
No.
Man, Bad Boys 3 is real good.
Is
man.
it?
Real good. Like, way better than Beverly Hills Cop 3.
Making me feel real good.
Like, infinitely.
I think that's the best comparison possible. I haven't seen either of those. I mean, I haven't seen Bad Boys. I've seen
Beverly
I
Hills
don't know
Cop
what I'm
3.
trying to see. I never saw that comparison before, but it's perfect.
Okay.
How about that?
Yeah.
How about that?
No, but Bad Boys 3 is real good. You guys should go see Bad Boys 3.
I'm gonna.
All right, let's jump back to Star Wars actually for a minute because we should talk about some of this TV show news that came out. So we were talking about The Mandalorian a little bit, and I liked that so much, and I was really, really excited for this potential ObiWan Kenobi series that was going to come to Disney Plus. But the news just broke within the last week or so that they have indefinitely put a. Okay, so Collider originally reported this story, and their report says 2 independent sources with knowledge of the situation say that the Obi-Wan series has been put on hold. The crew that had assembled at the Pinewood Studios in London was sent home. A time frame was not given, but the crew was told that the show was down indefinitely. President and Obi-Wan producer Kathleen Kennedy was not happy with the scripts. Sources tell us what will most likely happen next is the scripts will be reworked with the hopeful goal of assembling this summer. So that's the news we've got. So they're saying indefinitely, but it does sound like they're planning to pick up production in the summertime. So it looks like we're just looking at a delay here, hopefully, with the show.
Well, Ewan McGregor was the one when they talked to him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, no, everything's coming together. The scripts are great. We love the scripts. The scripts are also great. We're just taking a little bit of a pause so we can make the scripts even better." And because the scripts are so great, so they're just trying to make sure those are ready to go. And I'm like, your words don't make any sense together, Ewan. But I guess you gotta, I don't know. You don't want to step on the wrong toes.
I guess that must be what's going on there.
He saw that episode of Friends where Joey got himself written off that.
I'm excited for it. I hope it comes together. I'm specifically kind of excited to see where they go with it, if they're going to kind of follow... Well, so Mandalorian gave me a little bit of hope with the end, specifically the way they ended that, and I don't know if either one of you guys ever even watched Clone Wars, the animated series, but that's also coming back on Disney Plus pretty soon, the final season. They're doing a final season of Clone Wars, so I'm pretty excited about that, but that ending shot of The Mandalorian where they revealed the Darksaber... Well, that comes straight out of the Clone Wars series that involved the Mandalorians in the series.
Yeah.
So that was really exciting to kind of see that they pulled stuff from, the Clone Wars series, and now we're seeing it in live action in the Mandalorian show. So that has me more excited for what we're going to see with the Obi-Wan series, because he's such a main character in Clone Wars. Maybe we'll get to see a little bit more of that kind of throwback to some of the stuff that they've created within those shows and everything. I love that kind of stuff, and I really like Clone Wars. It's a really good series. It started real slow. That movie that came out was kind of it was all right. And it started real slow, but once that show got going, it was a real good show. So I would definitely, and it's all on Disney Plus now.
Yeah.
So that's a show that you should, if you liked The Mandalorian. I've seen that there's actually people have already put together lists of the Mandalorian-centric episodes of Clone Wars if you want to go and watch the stories that involved the Mandalorians in that show. So that's kind of cool.
Thanks, Internet.
So definitely go do that if you haven't yet. But that's part of the reason I was excited for Obi-Wan. I'm curious to see if Darth Maul is going to show up in the Obi-Wan series. It feels like he's going to, because that was a big part of, he battled Darth Maul a couple times in the Clone Wars series, and I know they teased him in the Solo movie, right? We saw Darth Maul. So it feels like that's a thing that they're gonna do.
You would no reason not to.
And I'm totally down for that. Like, I'm down for that. Let's do it.
I still want to see Han Solo fight him for no reason.
So, I just hope it comes together because I'm excited for it.
I don't know. It's just the more they do with Star Wars overall, the more. I mean, Kathleen Kennedy just ain't no Feige. And that's all there is to it.
Fact. Faux show.
Like they really
wasn't he supposed to be getting? We were talking about that earlier. Isn't he getting involved or something?
He's supposed to be getting like a Star Wars movie or something. I don't think he was going to take over the whole universe. He was going to do like a project. But I also would not be at all surprised if they were like, "Hey, Kevin, go make a movie over there, and while you're over there, I don't know, look around,
look around." Yeah, for sure. Okay, so while we're talking about shows getting canceled, a while back we talked about the announcement that we were going to be getting 4 brand new Marvel animated series on Hulu that were like adult animation shows. And now we've gotten word that 2 of those have been canceled before production even started. So we are losing Tigra and Dazzler and Howard the Duck, which I'm bummed about because I really wanted Howard the Duck.
Yep.
As of right now, it says that MODOK and Hitmonkey are still going forward.
I don't want to see either of those.
But it does note on here that these were. It says. This move was believed to be a very recent move made by Marvel as Feige and his team have been evaluating existing Marvel properties.
Yeah.
So this definitely kind of falls in line with the whole Disney-Fox merger and Feige taking over everything, and I think these are victims of that.
Because the Disney TV was under a different... or like the Marvel TV was under a different branch for a while, and now with the Disney Plus and the Fox and like you said, Feige taking over everything, they're kind of going through like they're still giving Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. their proper send off, like with their final season and everything. So they're not coming in and outright just like cleaning house, but they are just reevaluating everything, and I think they're trying to keep that unified vision going forward, and so I would be pretty surprised if these other 2 shows exist in the form that they were expected originally. But I also wouldn't be terribly surprised if all 4 of them come out just under new management and on a different time frame. So who knows?
Yeah, for sure. Well, and that's, I mean, I think, well, MODOK for sure, we've started getting some news on that, right? Because they've revealed like that the animation's going to be, I think it's going to... I saw something about that.
As I say, I haven't seen anything, but that definitely doesn't mean it's not out there.
Yeah, for sure. So I think we've got some news on MODOK, but that's the only... I haven't heard anything else on Hitmonkey since they originally announced it. I would not be surprised if they axe that one next. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Would not be surprised.
I mean, and if they're not ready to release MODOK, I wouldn't be surprised if they cut it out.
If they just cut it too?
I mean, if they've got a bunch of scripts ready that they haven't even animated yet, they have no particular reason to need to go forward.
And that's crazy. That's crazy. Well, there are other Marvel shows that are for sure happening on Disney Plus, and we just got a neat little teaser trailer during the Super Bowl this past weekend. It's real quick flashes of stuff, but it was much needed, I feel like, to finally see this stuff, because I'll tell you, like, The Mandalorian was fantastic, but it came and went so fast, and it feels like there's been a whole lot of nothing on Disney Plus ever since.
Yeah.
And I've just started feeling like, okay, and then like that news came out about the ObiWan show getting postponed, and it's like, oh no. What, like, is everything we were going to get for Disney Plus just like, is that it? Like,
no, just the one thing.
So so then
the cancellations were all Hulu.
Right, exactly. But the Obi-Wan show, and then we haven't really we haven't heard much about the Marvel stuff.
Well, but I mean, they're still on their time frame.
Sure,
they've had the announced time frames. It's just that they happen to be a while off. It just
feel like we have Disney Plus now, and we don't have anything to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's like this weird. I mean, there's a lot of great back catalog stuff.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Don't go watch Darkwing Duck.
No, I haven't revisited that one.
They also they just randomly a few weeks ago started losing a bunch of their movies.
What?
Not like huge numbers of them, but there was a list of like 20 things that just sort of disappeared one day.
Why? Why would they do that?
Because of pre-existing streaming agreements with other places. Now, I don't know if this was stuff that they just stumbled into or...
Well, like, oh, that's not supposed to be on there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not sure what that is. And it's all stuff that I'm sure will come back, but, like, I think like at least
Netflix
2, if not
combed
3.
through Disney Plus and then sent them a letter. Excuse us, Disney.
Well, it's the thing, like the Home Alone movies, at least some of them are gone.
Wow.
Like Pirates 4, like 1 through 3 and 5, that's fine. 4, gone. Just so some random weird stuff. And again, it's all coming back. It's just a matter of like getting through these existing contracts.
That's crazy.
But it just sort of happened out of nowhere one day. You started seeing reports of like stuff that just wasn't there anymore.
Wow.
And they started compiling lists. And like I said, I want to say it was like maybe 10 or 20 movies. And I mean, it wasn't like, I guess a Pirates movie is a pretty big deal. Home Alone's are pretty big deals. Most of the rest of the stuff was...
At least we're past Christmas now, though. So
yeah,
we don't
exactly.
have to watch the Home Alones until next Christmas.
Man.
So, if those contracts expire
do
in
we
under
ever
a
have
year,
to
we're
watch
fine.
more than the first one?
No, we don't really.
Okay,
That's
good.
the best one, faux show.
I always heard that 3 was surprisingly strong, but I've never watched it.
Yeah,
Spencer watched it this year. I did not watch it with him.
Yeah.
He watched all 3 of them because he fell in love with the first one, and then when he found out there was more, he got excited. So, have at it, kid. Watch them. Okay, so this ad flashed through a bunch of images of Falcon and Winter Soldier, WandaVision, and Loki. Right, just those 3.
Yeah.
Barely had any Loki.
Yeah,
Barely
just
any Loki.
one image of
Loki
Loki.
at the
But a
very
pretty
end.
telling image.
Yes, at the very end. So anything stand out specifically to you guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Falcon throwing the shield.
So cool.
Practicing with the shield.
So cool.
It's awesome. Bucky and Baron Zemo.
Yeah.
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 That's awesome.
Those were 2 things that jumped out to me. I was like, all in. All
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
Wanda what? No.
I'm real juiced for WandaVision.
I'm excited.
Like,
about
it looks
WandaVision.
as crazy as they say it's going to be. And I've just heard so much hype about how outside the box that show is.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what that means. And the snippets I saw from it steer right into that image of...
Well, did you see how they kind of flashed through different sitcom looks?
Yeah.
They were specifically mimicking like a Dick Van Dyke looking
Yep.
show. One of them looked like Family Ties.
Yep, and there was some Brady Bunch in there, I
Brady
think.
Bunch.
Yeah.
One of them, I think somebody online said one of them looked very like Roseanne-ish or like
Yeah.
just a 90s kind of sitcom.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting how they were flashing through.
And they had
one of the
different, like, I think she was pregnant in one of them, and they had...
in one of them, she was wearing her comic book costume.
Yeah. Yep.
Like the headdress and everything. That
Yep.
was cool.
Yep.
That was neat.
Like there was some sort of scene where you can identify 2 pacifiers flying. So they're like, because at some point she's got twins, I think, in the comics or
Oh,
something along
okay.
those lines. So they don't know what that means for what's going on in there, but
Sure.
just the way it's like flashing in and out of what it's doing. I don't even know what it looks like, but it looks crazy, and I want to see what it looks like.
Yeah, and I like how weird and crazy it looks, and plus we know that she's a main character in Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
So it feels like whatever's happening here is going to set up for whatever her role is in that movie. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about that.
Which that lost
In
its
general.
director a few weeks ago too. Like
Did
the
it?
guy from the first one exited over creative. What's the term they use?
Differences?
Yeah, creative differences.
Uh-oh.
So that's kind of a bummer. But I mean,
It's always a little scary when that happens.
Ant-Man was still great, so we'll see.
Okay.
Baby Driver was still dumb.
You lost John. Look what you did. Well, I'm real excited for all 3 of these shows.
Yeah.
Well
honestly.
done.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited for all 3 of them. I was realizing why I'm looking forward more to Falcon and
Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love Agents so much.
Yeah.
And I assume that'll be kind of like I don't know, Agents, not Agents Light. What's
Agents Light.
What if Coulson shows up?
Oh, man. He's got nothing else to do anymore, right?
Right?
After, he might
Right?
as well.
Oh man, I just ruined that show for myself. Because now when he doesn't, I'm gonna get to episode 8 or whatever it is and be like,
I'm not. I got like
They all still think he's dead,
8
right?
seasons
Yeah.
of the Coulson
Well,
show.
those guys don't even know him, so they don't care.
That's
Yeah.
true. Those 2
Yeah.
didn't know him. That's true. That's true. Isn't that weird to think about? That Coulson didn't actually make it past the first Avengers movie?
Yep.
We've had so many movies without Coulson.
Yep.
Weird, man.
But we had Captain Marvel with him.
Oh, that's true.
That counts for anything.
She knows him. Kind of.
The Loki snippet that we saw, I had to read up on it. I didn't know what it meant. But he's got some logo on his shirt there that is... oh, God, I'm a terrible host, so I can't even remember what it says now. Because I looked it up today, so I'd be ready to talk about it. And but it's basically... There's some, like, time patrol... essentially, like these entities or whatever they are that guard timelines.
Yeah.
And he's got this it looks like a jumpsuit anyway, and he's got this logo on it that they say probably stands for that group. So then the speculation is like he's probably jumping through, because he's lost in time anyway from where they pulled him out in Endgame, and he probably took the attention of this group of time hunters, essentially, who are either after him or at some point seem to have grabbed him.
Yeah.
And so he's probably in some sort of mix with that. And so, again, already, like, I was excited about a show of just Loki bouncing around doing Lord knows what. But the prospect of it having a pretty cool storyline makes it even more exciting also.
Yeah.
So I think that commercial was a home run all the way around.
Yeah, I was trying to look up.
In my opinion.
Trying to look up and see.
Yeah, I can't really find anything on it, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, that sounds awesome. Well, like, as soon as we saw that scene in Endgame, we assumed that was exactly what was going on.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, he grabbed that Tesseract and disappeared, and we were like, well, he's going to go have his TV series adventures now. Like, that's obviously what's happening there.
Well, I think the thing there is that it would have been, for me...
Time variance authority.
It would have been super easy for... them to do that, and Loki runs away, and then Loki just has kind of some random adventures that almost don't connect to anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because now he's just off with the Tesseract, jumping through, because he doesn't want to get, chased down by Thor and Odin and whoever else. So he just jumps to this planet and Thanos.
Yeah.
So you can just jump to this planet and have an adventure that's not connected to anything, and jump to this planet and have an adventure that's not connected to anything, and we just get some Loki.
Yeah.
So I think it is cool and adds to it if... To think that we're actually going to get referenced back to like, oh no, look, because this thing in Endgame, now these guys are after him, and this story actually has legs other than just random.
Exactly. It's one of those, like, I was excited for randomness, and now like that they've hinted at structure, I'm even more excited.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
The TVA logo on the suit most likely stands for the Time Variance Authority. They're a group that monitors alternate timelines. It looks like Loki has been captured by them and is possibly being questioned by them.
Yep.
So that's cool.
Weird way to end that thought.
Yeah.
But
no, that's real cool.
Yeah,
I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
That's going to be
I'm
awesome.
excited for all of them. They're going to be good.
Yep.
For sure. All right, so on the MCU front, we recently got the trailer for the Black Widow movie.
Yep.
Do we want to give some thoughts on that?
Man, was I having some real Marvel fatigue.
Yeah.
And really having a tough time. I was having a real tough time knowing that movie was coming and knowing that she was already dead from Endgame. Spoiler alert, from Endgame. And just I had this overwhelming feeling of like, it's over. You know what I mean? Like Endgame was so good and such a capstone. Like I know we got all this other stuff coming, and I know we're gonna get, 2 to 4 superhero movies probably until we die.
Mm-hmm.
But like I was just kind of like we're never gonna have that again. We're never gonna have that first 11 years again. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so like I'm kind of checked out on anything else. I'll go see the movies, but I'm not going to get excited. I'm not really looking forward to any of it. And then that Black Widow trailer came out, and I was like, all in. I want it now. Why do I have to wait till May? Come on!
Yeah. So I was really, really, and I know that we have talked about it being a prequel before. I think we've known that for a long time. But there was part of me that was really holding out hope that there was like potential for when Steve Rogers went and returned all the stones to their moments in time, that resurrected Natasha.
Right.
But like without Steve realizing it, so that this movie would just be about her coming back to life and trying to figure out what happened and how to get back home, and an adventure ensues, and Black Widow's back alive. Like, so part of me was kind of hoping that's what we were going to get. And then it turned out to just be, it is a prequel after all. But man, yeah, everything about that trailer looks so fun.
Well, you know, the other thing to that, though.
Yeah.
I felt like it looked a lot more recent than I would have assumed.
Yeah.
I kind of am wondering if it's not going to be like during the 5 years.
Taking place between Infinity War and Endgame?
During Infinity War.
Yeah.
Like the 5-year gap.
The 5-year gap.
I think it's either that or right before Infinity War in general, because it is definitely like recent.
Yeah, it looks super recent. So I was wondering if maybe they weren't going to give us a glimpse into what else was going on during those 5 years.
As I said, I can't remember the time frame that I read, so it may be between the two, or it might have been right before Infinity War, but it's definitely not like history past.
Sure.
It's right in that mix there.
Okay. Well, yeah. That's awesome.
Go ahead.
Red Guardian looks great.
For sure.
I mean, straight with his comic book outfit and everything, except I love the big beard and everything. I mean, I saw that and I'm just like, man, yes, I love it. Like, when I can see these guys, I'm like, okay, cool. He looks like a comic book character. I love it. I'm all in.
I think that trailer looks fun. I'm looking forward to that movie. If they just give us a Black Widow epilogue that's also a prequel that is fun but doesn't go anywhere, which they probably will, and that's ultimately that's fine, but like, I'm not going to leave that satisfied. I don't think there's a way to. It's too weird of a middle ground for me. Like, I mean, we've done all this build up and everything led to something, and then we got to the end, and the end was the end, and that was great, but then there was also Spider-Man, which was kind of past the end.
Yeah.
And so we've already started sort of rebuilding. So now if our next step is to just go back to 3 years ago or 6 years ago or whatever and tell this one-off story of this character that we already had an emotional farewell with, and there's no other point to it than just to tell that story, it's going to feel real weird to me.
Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming this is like a low-key origin story for like her little sister, and that character will be in the new storyline. You know,
yeah. And if they can give me something like that, that could justify it.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll do it. Because I wasn't thinking along that. I was just trying to think of like, what is the point of this movie?
Right.
And I mean, in a world where 20 years ago, movies were just movies and they didn't have to have a point. That's one thing. Or even things outside of the franchise. But, like, living with this franchise for over a decade where everything led to something, which built on something else, which led to something. And I've loved that ride the whole way.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, now's the time to do it.
For sure.
Like, after Endgame is the time to give me just a one-off that doesn't matter. However, I'm still not going to know how to reconcile that right away. I'm not saying I'll hate the movie either. I'm just saying, like, I don't know what to look forward to because I don't know how that's
that'd be super anticlimactic if it's just like, here's this thing, and then, the post-credits, they have their adventure, and the post-credits scene either doesn't happen or it's just like a one-off throwback to a joke that happened in the movie.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem connected to anything.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, and then to build off that also, and, I hope I'm wrong, and Marvel hasn't really particularly disappointed me yet, so I can almost assume I'm wrong, but I can't picture a scenario where I care about the Eternals. Like, even a little bit. And that's what's coming on the heels of it, too. So, like, I feel like I'm back in, like, 2008 happened, and we got Iron Man and Hulk, and then it was, like, 2 years before we got Iron Man 2, and that was fun, but barely anything. And I feel like I'm in that realm now for the first time in a decade, where there's just, like, a couple of years I have to wait before something I truly care about.
Yeah. Well, hey, welcome to the world of the rest of us, because you were the only one who wanted to see a Guardians of the Galaxy movie until we all saw a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. So,
hey, I was juiced for that movie, too.
Maybe that's going to happen to you with the Eternals.
Yeah, man,
now, see,
could be.
I don't know anything about the Eternals. I've never read an Eternals comic.
Same.
I don't even know if during my time as a comics reader in junior high, I had ever heard of the Eternals. But I saw Guardians of the Galaxy, so I'm juiced for the Eternals.
See, and I am exactly.
I'm just assuming it's going to be something great.
I am living that exact reality because I used to read a bunch of Guardians, and as it turns out, it wasn't even the same team.
Right.
But when they brought that up, I was like, interesting, but okay, and I could be excited about it. I don't know that I ever heard of the Eternals before the Eternals movie was announced.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that I get my Guardians out of this to where I could have never seen it coming. In my head, the only way I can envision that happening is if this movie is Guardians, and if this movie is just Guardians again, that's also going to be stupid. So I'm not sure what that looks like. Now, I'm also I started the comment with, I'll probably be proven wrong, and I'll be happy when I am. So there's many ways they can take this that I haven't thought of, and that's why I make podcast money and not big-time Hollywood superhero movie money. Podcast money also doesn't exist, kids.
We get podcast money. I was going to say.
Yeah, no, that's...
What podcast money you get?
Yeah. For the record, that's not a real thing,
definitely
so
not a thing.
don't go to college for that. I'm sure there are classes for it now. Don't take those. They're a waste of money. But regardless, there's a very good chance I'll be absolutely delighted with this movie. I just cannot envision that being a thing at this point.
I get that.
Yeah, that's really. I don't really have anything else to add to that. I mean, honestly, that's kind of where I'm sitting too with everything. I thought the trailer was great though for Black Widow. Like,
Yeah, as I say, it looks like a really fun movie for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. So whatever, it's Marvel. I'm in.
Yep.
Something else I just thought about too while you were talking about all that. I don't think we even talked about this because I can't find any confirmation on it, but there were rumors circulating just a couple weeks ago that the Hulk rights had fully reverted back to Marvel.
Oh, I didn't see that.
And the problem is I can't find any like solid confirmation of it. Like there's just a couple of news sites that are reporting it as a rumor, saying that rights for Hulk and Namor. I thought Namor had already returned to them because it was part of Fantastic Four.
I thought it was part of Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
also.
because I thought
you know what though? No,
haven't they already been teasing Namor?
Now that I don't remember them teasing it, but now that we're talking about it, I do feel like I remember that being a separate thing because I remember being surprised that it wasn't part of the Fantastic Four deal.
Well, I remember reading...
But that's just a vague impression. I don't remember
Was
specifics.
it Endgame or one of those recent movies where they were talking about the earthquakes happening underwater?
Yeah,
that's supposed to be.
Yeah.
That's a Namor. That was supposed to be a reference for Namor.
Yeah.
Well, didn't they have Atlantis marked way back in, was it Iron Man 3? Iron Man 2 or 3? When they pull, at one point they pull up like, a big...
2's the one where they start talking about the extended...
Right, but I think it was 3, I feel like, where like they pulled up a big readout thing.
Okay.
And it's got a bunch of like points of interest marked.
Sure.
One's like off in the middle of the ocean.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
All right.
Yeah.
I think. I might be totally wrong.
I'm sure that's one of those characters they've been itching to pull the trigger on for a while.
Well, that's the other thing.
Never know, man.
That's the other thing I keep forgetting, though.
He's a classic
is that,
Marvel
like,
character.
As much as I'm looking at the next like year or year and a half or whatever, and going, I don't know what to be excited about. Like at some point, we're gonna get a Fantastic Four tease. Or something with Fox stuff.
That is for sure.
And that should be enough. Just waiting for that should be enough to get me excited.
I was going to say, all this other stuff feels like they were eventually going to have to build up for something like a Galactus or something, right?
Yeah.
Our big Fantastic Four reveal.
Or if part of this Black Widow movie takes place in Latveria, I'm in. I'm done. It's over.
I want to start seeing like Silver Surfer and stuff like that too. Like we've got all the cosmic stuff going on now. Let's get crazy with the cosmic stuff. They did all that teases for Adam Warlock and everything.
Well, he'll be around for...
Is he going to be in the new Guardians movie?
For the Asgardians of the Galaxy.
The Asgardians of the Galaxy?
I'm going to be so mad if Thor's not in that movie.
He has to be.
I think. Well, I believe he's barely in Thor.
I hope he's not in Thor at all.
Yeah. Nah, he'll be in Thor.
Thor 4?
Yeah.
No, we don't need him.
Well, I mean, you can. I don't know that he'll be Thor in Thor 4. Whoa. But like I said, I don't think he's a focal point of the movie either. I think
because that's about Jane getting the Thor powers, right? Yeah.
Well, I just don't. My main concern with that is I feel like now, again, I'm making podcast money, not Hollywood money, but I feel like I can't imagine a scenario where he shows up for Thor 4 and then is back with the Guardians of the Galaxy as Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Yeah.
Like
Which, when it's not called that, even if he is in it, I'm going to be pretty mad.
Yeah.
I'm fine with him being in that as long as he's. I don't care what they call it, as long as he's in it.
He better be in it, man. I need obvious just from the little bit they gave us of Quill and Thor together. I need that. I need more of that.
Yeah. I need a movie of that.
All of that.
All right, so if we're leaving the MCU front, we've had a couple more Marvel trailers that we should probably talk about. So New Mutants. This one
that looks better than it's.
This is
be.
like the final of the Fox movies, and they've been postponing it, and I think we were even wondering if it was ever even going to come out.
There's little chance that it's worse than Dark Phoenix, and no chance that it's worse than Apocalypse. So that's exciting.
I mean, it's we've talked about it briefly before. The trailer looks exactly like the way it was described originally. It looks like a horror movie.
Yeah,
that's definitely the way they're setting this up. It looks interesting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the trailer looked. I was not expecting anything out of this movie, and the trailer looks pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it'll be good or not, but I like the trailer.
If that movie comes out, does that mean we can do the whole X-Men franchise for the Freakeasy next year?
Oh boy, for the freak, just because that one is a horror movie.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I was pretty horrified by most of those movies.
I'd say, yeah. Like, I'm more scared of the prospect of having to watch a couple of those again than I am of.
Oh no, not The Last Stand. No.
God, man, The Last Stand's like at worst the fourth worst of those movies.
No joke.
At worst.
No joke. You still gotta watch
Wolverine Origins.
Wolverine Origins. Apocalypse.
Apocalypse is so bad. Like,
oh my God.
Think of the worst and add 2, and you're on your way to Apocalypse.
That's the other thing. MCU's going to let the X-Men lay low for a while, aren't they?
That's fine.
And then they're going to bring them in.
That's fine. It's necessary.
Absolutely. I feel like they need to give the mutants a break.
Put some separation between Hugh Jackman and Wolverine.
Yes.
And then bring them back strong.
Yes, absolutely. Because otherwise everybody's going to be like, why isn't Hugh Jackman Wolverine?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, general public.
Yeah.
That will be the reaction.
Yeah. I'm just now getting to the point where I'll accept a Cyclops that isn't James Marsden. So,
dude, he died.
I know. Off screen.
In 3.
I know.
In The Last Stand.
That's my point. I'm just now getting there.
He got killed for being in a Superman movie, didn't he?
He did get killed for being in a Superman movie.
Oh, my God. All right, so how about Morbius? The latest addition to Sony's...
This looks like an interesting and necessary movie. No, not buying it.
No. Yeah. It looks...
You look mad at me for making the joke.
A little bit. It looks so much like like a 90s, early 2000s superhero movie.
Yep.
Where they're like, oh, we have to explain how a vampire makes sense now. Come on, guys. We gotta figure out how this movie works with in reality. Like, if Morbius was real, how would he be a real guy? Like, come on, like,
what if we made Blade, but we made it with like modern technology, but also it sucks?
But also it sucks.
It looks so bad. Just like such a huge, incredible leap backwards.
Yeah. Now, I think Venom's a bad movie, but it's one of those bad movies I enjoyed. I have loose hopes that this will be fun bad, but it doesn't look fun bad.
It doesn't look fun bad.
So,
they took the liberty of adding Vulture to it because they don't get it.
I was gonna say. So this is the funny thing about it is they're making the lines very blurry between themselves and the MCU, and I can't tell if Marvel's on board with that or not. Because like the trailer starts with like almost a disclaimer that's like, this isn't an MCU movie. Like that's basically what it says.
Yeah.
At the little thing at the beginning.
You know, like when when your little brother's 5 years younger than you, and he has to sort of hang out with you because mom makes you have him around, and he's like really bad at jokes and just generally like being entertaining, but he keeps trying, and it's painful to sit through, but you have to let him. A, because mom's making you, and B, because he's your little brother, so eventually maybe he'll get there, and it'll be better for you if he does. So you can't just totally write him off. Like that's where they are, Like, I think Marvel knows if Sony makes good movies with these products overall, that it enhances our opportunities, and we have to keep them around because they let us have Spider-Man, because we are stuck in that situation now.
Yeah.
So it's going to be what it's going to be, and if they're going to advertise our name on their stuff every once in a while, I guess we'll let them, because they keep letting us make Spider-Man, but man, this is barely worth it. Barely worth it.
Yeah, man. Well, because that's the thing. Like, at the beginning of the trailer, it comes up with the Sony logo, and then it just says, in association with Marvel, which I don't think I've ever seen that specific wording before.
I don't know if
at the front of a Marvel
they
movie.
usually have the Marvel logo.
Usually
on
the
their
Marvel
stuff,
logo just flips in front of it. This one specifically says in association
and
with
it
Marvel.
also says from the studio that brought you Venom,
Yes,
which you're like, yep.
Yes.
And Spider-Man Homecoming, and you're like, nope. And Spider-Man Far From Home, like, also no.
I know. It's like they're trying to, it's like Sony's going, us too. Like, and Marvel's going, okay, guys.
Like, in the sense that they were smart enough to let a better studio make two of those movies, they brought them to you. But that's it.
Super weird. So, obviously, so like you mentioned the Vulture thing, which when that happens at the end of the trailer, you're just like, okay, what? How?
Yeah.
Is this the same character? Are they doing this? Like, what's going on there?
Yeah.
But also,
you remember all those Morbius.
Michael Keaton playing a completely different character.
Me too. I really super hope that.
That's what I was wondering.
I super duper hope that.
That's what I was wondering.
Like, I didn't get that impression, but I'll be real happy if they're like, oh, hey, Carl.
Yeah. Hey, Carl. Yeah, from the studio that brought you Spider-Man Homecoming and Venom. Those are not the same studio.
Yeah. You guys remember remember the 90s when they had all those Morbius Vulture team-ups, right? That was a thing? Was that a thing?
Sounds like a thing in the 90s.
Yeah, that sure does.
Yeah, that for sure
sounds
does.
like its own comic line from the 90s.
So there's like a scene in the trailer
Would
where
have got
like
its own 2099 too.
Yeah, it would have.
There's a scene in the trailer
what is
too.
That movie universe coming?
Ugh.
He's walking down an alley,
Soon.
and he walks by a poster of Spider-Man hanging on the wall with the word murderer spray painted across it. So, confirming that Spider-Man exists in the universe. So again, we're like blurring the lines here of what's going on. But my favorite thing about that the internet immediately picked out about that scene is that poster that Sony used is a screenshot of Spider-Man from the Spider-Man video game on PlayStation 4 wearing the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man suit skin in the game.
You know why?
Which is just such a Sony thing to do.
Well, you know,
right?
like you know what else though? Like, that's two things Sony owns.
Yeah.
Like,
that
outright.
game and that costume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sony made the Tobey Maguire movies and the game.
That's what I mean. How Sony moved. That is such a Sony move, dude.
Those weren't Marvel things.
Unbelievable.
So, like, if they put Tom Holland up there and negotiations go south, now they're worried about replaying this movie. Now they don't have to be. Like, they own both of those things.
And what makes you wonder if like do you think Feige watched this trailer and was just like, you had to put Spider-Man in there? Like, you just got mad?
No.
Oh man.
No.
I just
I think they came up to him and they said, "Hey, we're gonna put Spider-Man in this trailer," and he went, "I don't know if that's a good idea." And Sony was like, "Mom says you have to let me." And he was like, "All right."
No, man, that's totally their not touching can't get mad.
Yeah.
Not touching can't get mad.
That's totally what it feels like. Oh my gosh. I'm going to watch this movie. I want to know.
Dude.
I want to know. I want to know what's going on.
I still haven't watched Venom. You're not going to.
Because are they trying to do a Sinister Six thing still? Is that like
I hope not.
Are they hoping
the
to build
Vulture and Morbius and Venom?
I was going to say, are they hoping to build these villains up and convince Marvel to let these villains fight Tom Holland? Like, is that what's going on here? Look what we did, Marvel.
Made 6 good movies.
Such a weird mix of terrified and excited right now. this is not.
I hope we get one more. Like the next good Spider-Man, and then by the time it's time for like a fourth Spider-Man, it's just this weird Tom Holland versus like 6 Sony movie characters, where they're just like, fine, here you go. Or it's not even. Maybe it won't even. Maybe then they'll hire Tom Holland. You know what I mean? Like Marvel will be like, nope, don't Spider-Man. We made 3. Sorry, that's all we get.
Yeah.
And so then there's like this Tom Holland as Spider-Man, but not the Marvel Spider-Man, versus like Venom and Morbius and
Tom Holland as Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man.
Michael Keaton as Carl with wings.
With wings.
Yeah, like I was
with
gonna say,
wings.
I hope they get there and they're like, well, we didn't have time to make 6 movies, so we're gonna take the 3 and we're gonna add Lara Croft, and they're gonna get sucked into one of those Jumanji games with Kevin Hart and The Rock.
Yes.
Oh man, I'm in.
So they're just
I want to watch this.
They're just gonna find random Sony movies that they can all mix together.
Yes. This is my favorite.
Oh.
I'm so in on that.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like, man, I love Spider-Man, so I don't want them to ruin a bunch of stuff, but also I love mayhem.
Yep.
So I can't wait to see how it all works out.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we got through all the topics I had planned. Was there anything else that we wanted to cover?
Oscars are next Sunday.
Yes, they are.
So that's
We're going to be talking about those on the next episode?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
We're in between weeks on the AMC Best Picture Showcase, so I'd already seen a few going in. I think I've seen 6 of the 9 now. I still haven't watched The Irishman because I haven't had a day and a half to sit down in front of Netflix yet.
Oh, man.
And then I still haven't seen Parasite or Jojo Rabbit. But this last week here we watched Ford versus Ferrari. That was the first time for me. Very, very good movie.
Yeah?
Yeah, real solid, real entertaining.
Love it so
Yeah.
much.
Like, I didn't know what to expect out of that until the hype started coming in, and then the hype kind of excited me about it, and it lived up to it.
Yep.
Watched Joker again for the second time. Watching it a second time really reinforced for me that, I think it's a well-made movie, and there are parts that I liked more than I realized I did the first time through, but overall it really reinforced that it's just not for me. Yeah. I'm not going to say it's a bad movie, but
I still haven't seen it.
Yeah. And I will say, if I have trouble separating the character from the universe.
Sure.
If I was better at that, I would probably like it more.
Sure.
Because this, like I said, for a total alternate Elseworlds take on Joker, there's some stuff I really liked. This is not a Joker I would ever want to see fight a Batman, and the Joker without a Batman is weird to me.
Yeah.
So, is what it is there. And then we saw Little Women, which was very entertaining, but there was nothing special about it from a production standpoint.
Okay.
It was a period piece, well performed, also well made, but nothing stood out to me as this is fantastic by any means. But I did enjoy it for sure. I think this is one of the stronger fields they've had in a while. Which makes me excited. It makes me really excited for next week because I've seen 1917 and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I'm real excited to see both of those a second time. And I still don't even know what Parasite's about because I've been kind of avoiding. I had heard buzz on that movie going in before I realized it would ever be nominated.
Yeah.
But never followed up on it. And then once it got nominated, I kind of fell into that realm where it's since I don't know anything about it, I'm going to kind of keep not knowing anything about it until I can watch it. And Jojo Rabbit, I've just been excited about because the guy who made Ragnarok made it.
Yeah,
that's all I need.
That's all you need.
I was semi-excited I was pretty excited for The Irishman when it was being made because it was Martin Scorsese and a bunch of terrific actors that make great Martin Scorsese movies. But they did all that age reduction stuff on it, which kind of makes me nervous because as much as I enjoyed seeing that with Sam Jackson and Captain Marvel, any scene where he had to move was sort of awkward. So that was a really fun novelty, but it's hard for me to imagine 3.5 hours of it working for every cast member. And then I heard some reviews about it that basically backed that up. That it was just kind of weird to watch.
Right.
And then I got nominated for an Oscar, so I got super excited again because I was like, well, maybe it is really good. And then I watched Marriage Story, and I was like, well, or maybe things just get nominated because Netflix has money. Too. Because Marriage Story is not bad, but it's nothing. It's nothing. It's very well acted. The performances are very good.
Right.
The story and the movie itself is totally fine, but nothing that you're going to remember. That's my problem with a lot of Best Picture nominations over the last 5 years. I mean, there's been somewhere between 7 and 9 or 10 every year for the last 5 years, so we're talking over 40 movies, and I could probably name 6 of them if I tried.
Yeah.
Without putting a lot of effort into it. They're not memorable at all. And if you're going to get Best Picture nominations and or win Best Picture, you should at the very least be memorable.
Yeah.
2 years from now, I'm not going to remember the name of Marriage Story.
Right.
I'm going to remember that Adam Driver, Scarlett Johansson movie about a divorce, but even then, all I'm going to remember is it's kind of like The Breakup, but without any of the jokes.
Oh,
Which is funny because The Breakup was like The Breakup without any of the jokes.
Yeah, that movie was
the thing.
way more
The Breakup was
the
thing with The Breakup. You were like, it's a comedy, and you walk in and you're like, this is not funny.
Yeah.
And then you walk into this one and they're like, it's not really a comedy, and you sit there and watch and go, nope, sure isn't.
That's just that's it.
It's not particularly dramatic or thought provoking. Doesn't teach me anything about life or divorce or anything else. It's just a movie full of bitterness, and then it's over.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we're right in the mix of that. I'm looking forward to the next 5 I still got to watch, and then the ceremony itself will be next week. So the next time we come, we'll be able to recap at least some of the big awards.
Cool.
And I'll bore you guys through that.
All right. Sounds perfect. Awesome.
Sounds boring.
Tune in
next time.
Sounds boring. Don't miss it. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. The plan is to be back on our bi-weekly schedule, so you guys can expect a brand new episode every other Wednesday. You can find us by just going to geekeasypodcast.com, which will take you to the Podbean page. Or you can watch us on YouTube. Just do a search for the Geek Easy Podcast. If you prefer the audio version, we're on all of those different podcasting apps, so you can find us on iTunes. Has that changed yet? Is it iTunes? I don't know. Apple's app, whatever.
Apple's app.
Stitcher.
Apple the app.
It just says podcast on my iPhone, so
it
that's
just says
all
podcast. Yeah, so we're there. We are definitely on it. Stitcher, Spotify, Podbean, all of that stuff. Google Play. We are on all of those different platforms. So however you choose to listen to your podcast, you should be able to find us. And of course, as always, we always appreciate ratings and subscriptions and reviews and all that good stuff to help boost the show. That way you can get more eyes and ears on it.
Yep. Any predictions for our next episode, guys?
For Oscar stuff?
No, just in general. I predict less of us will be wearing purple next episode.
I can't guarantee that.
Yeah, not a promise.
Yeah. I predict that we're going to do some Q&A, so everybody should go to our Facebook page and cue us some A's.
Yes, cue us some A's. Or
A
us some Q's. I think that would
Send
be
us some Q's so we can A them.
There you go. Send us some Q's so we can A them real good. I saw a lot of people posting on there. John's about to burst. A lot of people were posting asking where the show was. So I feel bad that we've been gone.
That's a good cue.
But I was happy.
We just ate it.
Well, I was happy that people had missed the show. So hopefully you guys are going to be sticking around now that we're back on a regular schedule. And yes, I will put up a thread so you can post your questions and we'll answer them.
And you guys know the old adage, always keep them wanting more for weeks and weeks and
That's
weeks.
right.
So
Keep them wanting more.
we've got that covered.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, geek on? We need to. I need a way to end
Geek
this
on,
thing.
geeking on?
Yeah, geek on, geeking on.
The Geek Easy Podcast is a production of PixelDan.com. Musical tracks used in the intro and outro are used with full permission of the respective owners or creators. Intro and outro narrations are provided by me, Brian T. Stevenson. PixelDan.com's The Geek Easy Podcast is provided for entertainment purposes only. The views expressed are those solely of the hosts or guests and do not necessarily represent those of PixelDan.com or any other party. Be sure to join us next time for another installment of The Geek Easy Podcast.
This is episode 76.
Or 25?
Oh, I don't know.
Would that be right?
I don't know.
Even I stopped counting.
Well, we did what, 51 without him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not doing the math.
The math is 25.
Okay.
Ha!